Yeah! I'm ready, baby!
Fate decided.
Let's get this party started.
Craving something scary.
Hello, Sydney. It's an honor.
Killjoy Jake.
Don't you swear at me, you little shit! Don't you ever raise your voice at me! I am your mother!
Watch some.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
The collective has spoken.
Yo, what's up? We're here. We're live. Q&A Mondays. Fate decided craving something scary along with me. Killjoy Jake is not with us, but will return maybe on Friday. I'm not sure, but definitely will be back. Hey to you guys in the chat. We see you guys. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. And definitely, if you have any questions, put them in the live chat and we will try our best to get to as many of them as we can. We can't promise we'll get to them all, but we will definitely put the effort in. What's going on, fellas?
Hey, man.
Another beautiful day.
That's right, man. That's right. That's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, the YouTube neighborhood. What's up, Flash? Yeah, all right. Dustin.
Hey, Dustin.
Look at Jason. Jason's always, I'm telling you, Jason, you're all right, man. Doing a little bit of the tall man there from Phantasm, if you don't know. I love it. I love it. Shout out to the late, great Angus Scrim. Hey, Denisha. Hey, Katie. Katie saying happy Monday, everyone. Very, very cool.
Hey, Katie.
There you go. There's Jake. There's that guy.
Jake.
Yeah. You gotta love
Miss
him.
you, buddy.
He's all right. We really do, man.
We do.
Thanks, buddy. What's
Thanks,
up, Larry?
Buddy.
You do a pretty good imitation of that, man. Seriously.
Thanks, man.
He just looks in the mirror all day and just practices
all he
over
does.
and over again.
All
just,
day long.
just like,
My inner stew longs to come out.
honey,
Right.
dinner's ready. I'm busy.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a little busy over here.
I'm busy over here.
That's funny.
What's up, Carrie?
What's up, caretaker?
Yeah, caretaker. There's the general.
Hey, General. That's
We
right.
we need to give everyone like wrestling names that's in the chat.
I know. Get the like video on a Titantron for them and everything. What's up, Crystal? Crystal's in the chat too. What's up?
Hey,
Let's
Crystal.
see. And Wayne always stops by, even if it's like in the middle of the night. He could be in the middle of anything. He could be in the middle of saving a life, and he's going to jump
could.
into the
He's
live
like, I'm
chat.
giving CPR right now, but I'm here.
I'm going
I'm
one hand on the chest, one with the phone. Staying alive. You know, impressions.
Oh my God.
7:36 in the morning. Wow, that's
Crazy
early.
stuff.
It always blows me
Jason-
away when he gives us time updates. Like,
I know.
Right.
because it's like it'll be like 2 p.m. It's like it's it's 3:32 in the morning over here, and I'm like, damn,
Right.
all right.
He gives us the temperature and everything. I love it. It's good.
Yeah,
It really does
6:40.
make you feel connected to the rest of the world, though, for real.
Just like,
It's
yeah,
it does.
Yeah, because you lose that perspective at times.
You
You're
do.
Like,
Yeah,
you know,
man.
you realize, like, I mean, even in the U.S., like, we're all in different time zones and stuff, you know. So it's like,
Exactly.
you know, it's crazy. Like when you really think about it, it's like, oh,
It
yeah.
is.
It's like, you know.
Right.
he's in
Well,
the
like
future.
last night on my watch party, you know, Lee the Nerd, one of my channel members, she lives in Finland, and so
Wow.
she's on watching the movie with us. She just gets home from work. She works the night shift, so it's like 7:30 a.m. and she's turning on the stream to watch the movie before she goes to bed.
Wow.
It's insane. It's like 7:30 in the morning. Yeah. So
yeah,
cool.
man. Jason, thank you so much. Saying, you know, let's just get the word out. The channel's awesome. Should have more subs. Let's all make it happen. Get the word out. And please share this video. Absolutely.
Yes.
Sharing the video definitely
Yes.
helps. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And I know we've talked ad nauseum about giving a like and a comment, but definitely sharing the video is just another level. If you're able to, if you do have social media accounts, it helps. It really does. Because we always are getting folks saying, "Oh, I never knew about this channel," or "I never knew that, this was going on, and I'm glad to have found you." And that's because we are constantly fighting the good fight against YouTube and exposure.
Constantly.
And its algorithm, the
I mean,
mighty algorithm.
the mighty algorithm. We're doing it with this channel. We're doing it with our individual channels. I mean, I can't tell you
Yep.
guys how often I get that from folks on social or in comments of videos where they say, "Oh wow, I'm so glad I found this channel. I never knew the possibilities." Well, sharing the video definitely helps. So thank you so much for that. We appreciate it.
And
Horace
also,
is in the
Knight,
chat too.
hey man,
No, go ahead.
real quick, while you're mentioning that, just to piggyback, we got 38 in the chat with 24 likes. So that's
What are you doing?
14 more likes we could get in like right now, 30 seconds. We could jump up. And let's get this up in the upper 30s. Come on, guys. It's going to help more people find the stream right now while we're on the air. Literally.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Facts.
it's true. It is true. Well,
So,
guys,
what is your guys? I have the first question for us to get started.
Okay.
What is your I guess ranking as far as like Halloween ends? Like, where do you think like this movie will be for you as far as like success wise, personally, not like box office success because it's going to be box office. Do you think Halloween Ends is going to be great? You think it's going to be up there as one of the top movies? Do you think it's going to be a bit of a disappointment? You think it's going to be like, lukewarm? How do you guys feel about it? Because I have a lot of concerns about it. And the more that I think about it, the more I'm like, I really feel like I'm not going to like this movie. I want to be optimistic. I'm going to watch it regardless, but I just, obviously we all know how I feel about Halloween Kills.
The world knows.
I did enjoy Halloween 18. I didn't think it was the best Halloween movie ever, but I thought it was, good for like your establishment film. But it's just like all signs point to just this being a bit chaotic and maybe even convoluted at times. And I have my concerns. What do you guys think as far as that goes? What about you, Craven?
I do have some concerns because of what we've heard a little bit and the whole test screening. If it's true where there's two different versions they're testing. And hey, what's up, Alex?
Hey, Alex.
Good to see you, buddy. I just got through talking to him like an hour ago. We just did a video together on his channel. Just went up, I think. So I'm concerned because if one of the, I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to, if it is truly spoilers, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I won't. But I'll just say there are two versions of the movie, allegedly, that have been made, and they're going to decide which one's going to come out in October. If that's true, one version I really do not like at all the premise of.
You know the premise?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, I do.
Both of the entire movies have been leaked.
Yeah, and I don't know all the details now, like as far as like how it's going to end, none of that. But
Yeah.
Just general premise. It's one's very different than the other.
Yes.
And the one that I hope it is, if that one comes out, I feel better and not as quite as nervous about. And I know I'm speaking cryptically, but I have to. If the other one comes out, I don't want to ruin it for anybody. If the other one comes out, which, if that's all I can really say without maybe messing it up.
It's the one that you more prefer.
There's one I highly more prefer than the other. But yes, thank you. That one that comes out, I'm not as nervous. So I'm going to hope that's one that does better in the test screenings and we get it. But here's the last thing I'm going to say. The night I'll give it over to you. I really enjoyed 18, and I really enjoyed Kills. So for me, just strictly based on my own experience of these two movies, I'm giving David every single benefit of the doubt. Because I believe that I'm not going to believe all of a sudden after he made two movies I liked that he's just going to make a trash movie for the third one. Now he could, all right. Now it could be bad, but I'm believing it's going to be good, and that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Now, when you say that you have faith that he's not going to make a trash movie, is the version that you prefer least, is that quote unquote like a trash movie?
It could be bad.
Okay.
Yeah, in my opinion,
Okay.
it could get really. And you're talking about different and not a normal Halloween movie that would fit the bill, and I don't want that. So yeah, the one I want is the one that's most known. I think it's the one that's most been talked about. That's the version I want to see. So
Okay.
we'll see.
All right. Um, I've heard some. See, we'll have to talk after this,
I
Yeah.
maybe
know.
if
I
if
know.
if if if, if, if we have time, because I'm going to be on at 8. But um, I've heard some things, and I've tried to not go all the way down the rabbit hole, because at the end of the day, I don't want to be spoiled either. I mean,
I know.
obviously, it's a slippery slope,
It's
because
hard though.
as a content creator,
Yes.
knowing those things can be a
It's
good
hard.
thing. And also just as a fan, the curiosity and so forth. So I have heard some things, but I'm not sure if I've heard as much as you guys. Maybe not, because I'm definitely some of what you said, Steven. I'm like, yep, I'm following you. And then I was like, whoa, maybe, I don't know. So let me just put it to you this way in the most simple terms. And I said this, I think I said it on one of my live streams, or some we were on something together, Steven, and I said, I'm saying it
Mhm.
live for the first time. I'm starting to have some jitters.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying I'm going to become, as I've said in my videos, the master of panic and
No.
start burning down my house. Like, oh, they're going to screw up my Halloween. I'm not at that point. But for the first time, because we've heard a lot of rumors and speculation, and a lot of rumors have been, debunked and so forth. And each time, even before they were debunked, I said, okay, well, let's just hold the course and so forth. But based on more recent things, I am starting to get some jitters, in the sense that I'm all for trying new things in a 45-year-old franchise.
Hmm.
But I think in general, they've been able to do that twice, but not go too far out of the lane of what a Halloween movie, to me, just as a fan, to me, what I would want or hope for in a Halloween movie. So I'm starting to get some jitters, and that's about it. But
Well,
but 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 either way, I think that I'm definitely still excited for the movie. I've got some jitters, but I'm still excited for the movie and hopeful. What were you gonna say, Steven?
just real quick before we get Faith's feedback, here's what I'll say about it, because it's not really a spoiler. But I think it may help you know what I'm talking about if you've heard about it. The
Hmm.
version that I'm concerned about is if it's the one where we get the new character introduced named Cody. And that's all I'm going to say. That's the
Okay.
one. If you're not
Okay.
familiar with that, we could talk offline, and I'll say
Yeah.
what's
Hmm.
going on.
Okay. All right, Fate. What do you got?
Movie's gonna be trash. No,
Here we go.
no.
Here we go. I wish I
Next
had
topic.
I wish we had the clips from our Halloween Kills
I know.
discussions, man.
Here it
Exactly.
comes. No. I mean, look, I want this to be good, right? It's the conclusion of the trilogy. Even though I didn't like Halloween Kills, I still like. I could dislike a movie within the trilogy. I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest on Scream 3, but I like the trilogy as a whole. But when people are like, "What did you think of Scream 3?" I'm like, it's grown on me over the years, but it's not the best of the three. Like, and some people feel otherwise, but
do.
but personally for me, I just don't feel that way yet. But it just like from day one, it just seems like the writing is on the wall that this movie is not going to go the way that people want it to go. Or I mean, even from like Jamie Lee Curtis, like, just her words and stuff about how, like, people are going to hate this and stuff like that. Like, it's not like, that's not what you want to hear from your lead star. You don't want to hear like, you want to hear like, it's going to be different. And like I had somebody that was the other day when I was talking about this on my channel, and somebody was like, I don't think Jamie Lee Curtis would come back for a terrible film. I'm like, well, she did Resurrection for what? And two, like she was locked into a 3-movie deal. So I was like, by the time they got to ends, the what she thought it was going to be could have been completely different than what it originally started as. And now she just doesn't like it, but she's contractually obligated to be a part of it.
Right.
So it's like,
Oh, there he goes.
There he goes.
Yeah, that's Michael doing that to you, buddy.
Michael Myers says, enough.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I just like I want it to be good. I have more concerns than hopes for this upcoming installment. I just think there's so many unanswered questions that they're going to solve, and I just feel like I know they're just going to brush over so much stuff that we're going to be like, how did we get here? Like, like what? Like I don't know. I just feel like that's going to happen. I feel like we're going to leave that movie and there are going to be so many unanswered questions at the end of the movie, even if it's a good movie. Like even if we're like, wow, that was a good Halloween movie, but once like reality sets in, we're gonna be like, wait a minute, where did that add up? How come that didn't make sense? Like what happened with doing that? Like I feel like there's just like they're gonna brush over like so much stuff that needs explanation and diving into, and I don't know, I'm worried about that. Like I have my hopes, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel this. To be fair, I feel the same way about Scream 6. So, like, it's not just like a Halloween bias. I have probably more concerns for Scream 6 than I do Halloween Ends. Just because I know, I shouldn't say I know. I feel like I have a really good understanding of what's going to happen in Halloween Ends. Like whatever version we get, there's a lot of similarities in that. And I just think like, I know where they're going with this enough to know that like I'm probably not going to like it. Like execution is everything. It's one thing to read something on paper. It's another thing to see it executed. There have been tons of things that on paper sound ridiculous, and then you see it actually come together and it's like, oh, wow, it wasn't as silly as I thought it was going to be. So, but yeah, anyway.
Heck yeah,
all right. Man. There we go.
Well, listen, I got to say, we're up to like almost 60 people on the live stream. So thank you guys for showing up today.
Love it.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
On our journey to 1,000 subscribers, let me just say for a minute, while we got such a large crowd, if you guys enjoy the streams we're doing now, that warms our hearts and it makes our day. But let me tell you, when we get to 1K and we can start doing, we got all kinds of stuff on the docket. We got merch coming. We're going to have the opportunity for Patreon, for memberships, for channel, for super chats, and growing the channel into even greater things than you're seeing now. So I'm excited. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty darn excited that we're at 704 subs. And if you haven't subscribed yet, one more time, I know a lot of new people come on the stream. If you guys haven't subscribed, help us get to that 1K. We greatly appreciate it. And at the end of the day, we're going to have even greater things for you in store once we get to that 1,000. We got to get to the 1,000, though.
Yeah, it gives us so much more flexibility as well. And, and we've talked about it so much, but, when you're grinding, through the early parts of a new channel, it's really tough. The fact that we're at this point is solely because of the community and people, sharing and liking and doing everything that they can. And so we want to keep on moving, because once we do hit 1K, like Craven was saying, we'll have so much more flexibility in what we can do with the channel and how we approach it. I'm not going to spoil anything, but we've got so many ideas. So yeah,
man,
we're trying to get there. We're on our way. We're on our way. But definitely, if you have not subscribed, please do.
For our 1,000th subscriber video, we're all going to show up shirtless. So,
wow.
Actually, I don't want people to unsubscribe. If Knight was the one that showed up shirtless, we would get another 1,000.
Yeah.
If any of us show up, guys, we're going to run people off.
Craven, you just ruined it. We're supposed to make Knight believe we're all going to show up shirtless, so he shows up shirtless, and then we.
Dang it!
God, way to ruin it.
I messed it up, man.
God.
Golly.
Knight would have been like, "Hey, what's going on?
What are you doing?
What are you doing? Why you haven't shown up?
I'm the only one."
What? Oh,
yeah.
Man. Jason saying, I believe Halloween Ends could be one of those movies we don't like at the time, but really appreciate later on. Time will make the movie better. That's what he believes. I will say this. and we're still tiptoeing our way to knowledge of what this movie is going to become. The trailer's going to be out, and I don't know necessarily if we're going to get more answers. I think we might get more questions, but at least we're going to be moving forward towards October. But I will say there is a handful of movies I could name off right now that I didn't like at first for various reasons or what have you, that I came to appreciate or even love later on, sometimes years later on. So it is quite possible. And I truly believe that I've gotten to the point now in my movie fandom that even if I don't like a movie, I reserve the right to like it or love it later on, and I understand that
Yeah,
that can happen. It's true.
it's true,
It's
man.
true.
I got asked this question the other day, and I thought it was an interesting question that I'll pose to you
Hmm.
guys. Is like what franchise do you think would most benefit from like a big budget and like a star cast? Like for me, I was saying like Jeepers Creepers. Like I would love that. Like let's like have a company like Paramount or something like that take over the rights to Jeepers Creepers, throw a 30-50 million dollar budget into it, go get it doesn't have to be like George Clooney, Denzel Washington, Brad Pitt type level, but like go get like a known star that kind of plays like your main and main character role, like, and I think that that would be huge. I think you'd have, because I mean he's the Creeper's the best modern horror monster in the last 30 years at least, like as far as like iconic memorable things. I just think that it's in the wrong hands, and I think that
Mm.
that would be hugely beneficial. I threw out a couple other ones, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts.
Well, I definitely could agree with that, and it's funny you said Jeepers Creepers because I just watched the first one
I love them.
the other night just for the fun of it. I hadn't seen it in a little while. I definitely enjoy it, and also part two. But I watched the first one, and I was thinking to myself, man, it's like you said, it's literally a modern day, horror villain that is not iconic, but could be, and you would think should be, because he's so different. He's so different as far as the characteristics, the look, and the capability to kind of do so much because of his
Yeah.
mythology. And it is too bad. I would definitely vote for Jeepers Creepers. Other than that, um I don't know, having more studio backing and better directing and better this and that. I maybe Hellraiser, you know.
See, that was one
Um
yeah, that was one that
y-
we talked about.
because anyone who's watched my channel knows my disdain for the franchise, especially after part four. I kind of joke around a lot about it, but it's because that one and two were so good, like for real. I think Hellraiser one and two were just so good, so different. To this day, they both still creep me out. I'm still very just enthralled by it. The practical effects, the story, Doug Bradley, the presence of Pinhead, and so forth and so forth. And I think it's one of those franchises that just jumped off of a mountain and just went down into obscurity. And it's a shame. It's a shame. So I would definitely vote for Hellraiser.
Well, I'm going to be a different one because, and maybe it's because it's fresh on my mind from the watch party last night. Literally just watched it last night with all my amazing Cravenites. I'm going to have to go to Nightmare on Elm Street, James Wan directing it, and I want Samara Weaving. Yes, that's right. I've been on the Samara train since Ready or Not and Babysitter. I absolutely think she's got chops, man. She can be a Final Girl lead actor. So I want her to be the next lead Final Girl in Nightmare. And I don't care who the surrounding cast is. Pick anybody you want, all your favorites. But I want James Wan at the helm, and I want
Mm,
him writing it, and I want him to have a hand in writing it as well. And that's what I want to see. Give him, like I said, like Fate said, give him $30 million and make a kick tail movie
mm,
again. Not that
mm,
mess we got 20 years ago. Make a
mm,
really good movie. And, Wes Craven's estate, his family, they're shopping it. They're opening it up they own the U.S. rights to distribution. They
Yeah.
don't own international. That's still owned by New Line. So, but they're accepting offers or pitches now for a new Nightmare movie. And so, if you get someone like a James Wan or Jason Blum, or whatever, whoever, James Wan to me is a must. That's just my own preference. But whoever does the producing, and you go there and they negotiate the deal, they negotiate with New Line to get international distribution, then you got a new movie, man. You're good. You're ready to go. But the Craven estate will pick. It's kind of like Malika Cod. They have the rights now. No one owns their U.S. rights anymore. It all reverted back to Wes as the creator. So good. So his Jonathan and his daughter and his widow, I'm sure they all are in control of that, and they're going to be the ones that choose who gets it, which gives me hope that it won't go to some crummy studio and some bad filmmakers, because they get to say yes or no, which is powerful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that could be something that could happen. I would love it to see it happen. And I don't know. I still say you get Robert Englund back and you have him in all the close-up shots and you bring a stuntman in for all the action, fighting, good camera angles. It'll be believable. So,
Jason Blum swears by it. Jason
does.
Blum says that he could get him back. That he could get him for one more movie. So
he said, I can do it. I can get him back. I can get him. And I'm fingers crossed, man. I'm like, go, Jason. Go talk to Wes's family. Get this thing done.
Right? You would think. I mean, and of course we don't know. We may not really know how far in that process it could be. But you would think that would be like almost at the top of the list for a horror franchise.
Heck yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love Friday the 13th. But of course they're in legal situation. Legal situations still
Right.
that'll go on forever, unfortunately. But as far as Nightmare and bringing back Freddy Krueger, a good story for Freddy Krueger, and let
Yes.
Robert go one more time,
more.
or set it up for filming a couple real quick, or what? Well, not real quick, but you get what I mean. Let's get on it now as soon as we can. You would think that'd be at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? And don't get me wrong, man. I'm really happy about what Halloween has done so far. I'm still excited for Ends, and I think Michael, for me, Michael has one of the best mythologies of any horror icon. But if we brought Freddy Krueger back, especially if it's Robert, and it's
Oh
a
my
good
gosh.
movie, a good director,
Yes.
a good story, and if he was scary again, could you imagine people would lose their what
that's
in the
easily
fandom.
That's easily a $200 million movie,
Easily.
Totally.
Easily.
if not more.
Easily. I mean, because the thing about Freddy Krueger, and for a lot of people that are watching, if you were too young, back then, if you're in a younger generation, Freddy could do no wrong at one point. Like Robert could have gotten in the Freddy makeup and gone and started singing Mickey Mouse songs, and people would have been like, yeah, you know what I mean? And of course,
Let's
that's
go.
that's part of the downfall too. But I'm just saying he was that popular that he literally could do anything. There was Freddy toys and Freddy pajamas, and it was like starting to get really kind of weird. Like we're gonna give kids these Freddy
Right.
pajamas, and Freddy is like, you know what?
and stuff.
That's true. That's what
Right?
Robert Shea did. He
That's
wanted to
right.
go to the marketing with toys. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this isn't a kid's movie. Not
Bob
Wes's
Shea.
version.
Bob Shea, and I'll give him a little bit of credit in a way, because obviously Bob helped to make Freddy and the franchise, I should say, iconic. But the downside of it too, as you were saying, Craven, is Bob Shea saw a lot of dollar signs, and he
Heck
was
yeah.
like, "Yes, let's go all the way." And of course,
Yes.
Robert got super famous. So, but long story short, I'd love to see Freddy come back.
Me too.
I'd love Robert to come back. It actually would warm my heart as a diehard horror fan. It really would, more than anything else. And Nightmare, and I love Nightmare. I love Robert, and I love Freddy, but Nightmare isn't my favorite horror franchise. And that's more so because of the ups and downs of it. But I'd love to see Robert come back. I really would.
He's got to have one more in him.
Yeah.
I don't know. The problem is by the time a movie actually gets greenlit, how old is he going to be? Like, that's the problem too, is that because he's already almost 80. If it takes 5 years for that, he might not even be able to stand at that point. You know,
Robert
like,
needs to get on it, dude.
yeah,
Like,
that's what I'm saying.
like right
Like,
now.
I don't know, but
Mm.
I
Or
don't know.
Jason.
Like, what franchise? What franchise would you rank higher? Nightmare on Elm Street, as far as like just perception, people that know it, all of that
Mhm.
stuff, like globally. Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween? What do you think would be a bigger?
Oh,
What do you think is a
man.
bigger draw? Because I think that's tough.
You mean
I-
right
I-
now?
Just all time.
Oh, all time?
Yeah.
Well,
Because right now, I mean, Halloween's the bigger one because you got
Well,
movies right
right.
there.
Right.
Well, did you want to answer it first, Craven?
Nope. You go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, to me, you know how I get about this. To me,
He's like,
Halloween, the longevity of Halloween, like Halloween's kind of had, this type of thing going on, right? Since 78. Nightmare was kind of like woo, and then woo. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as its trajectory, at one point nobody could touch Freddy. Nobody. Jason, Michael, Pinhead, Chucky, they all and a lot of them emulated Freddy. Because I think that was part of the downfall for Hellraiser, to be honest with you. Because Hellraiser 3, Pinhead started to do a lot of talking, a lot of quipping, and this and that. And I'm like, dude, this is not Freddy Krueger. You know what I mean? And I know there's some Chucky fans out here too, but
Yep.
come on, Chucky had a lot of inspiration from Freddy. That's just the truth.
Oh, yes.
And so forth and so forth. But then, of course, like I said, the franchise kind of went downhill. Wes tried to bring it back with New Nightmare, which is a fantastic movie. But I
So
think
good.
by then, I think it was too late as far as kind of capturing at the time. People love it more now, but at the time, it was too late to really stop the inevitable downfall. So it's hard to say globally which one. I think Freddy Krueger is still maybe more recognizable, maybe more popular in a sense than Michael. But it's hard to say, to be honest with you, because it's just, I'll tell you this though, at least from what I see on YouTube, Halloween, I think is a more popular subject than Nightmare, but of course, and that was even before this trilogy. I want to say that even before this trilogy of Halloween came out, I think Halloween just had a lot more buzz around it, but that could be because of the downfall of Nightmare and that remake. So that's a long-winded answer.
It could also just be there's more to talk about with Halloween than Nightmare on Elm Street. You know what I mean? Like there's all kinds of especially with all the timelines and things like that. Like there's so many directions you could go with Halloween from a content creator standpoint that like, I mean, you could make a dedicated Halloween channel and never run out of stuff to talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's rare for most channels. I mean, even like Scream, like if we have another 10-year hiatus, there's only so much you can talk about. There's only so many times you can rehash the old movies. But Halloween, there's all kinds of questions, theories. Like even for movies that are 20 years old. Like why was Michael do that? Why, like, what is up with the cult? Like, is there more to it? I mean, you could just endlessly pump out content if you have a creative enough mind. But
when you got 12 or 13 movies, for Halloween, like Scream, we got 5. That's like 12, I think, right? Something like, I think we're at 12.
Right.
About to be 13?
That's right.
Jeez, man.
Yep.
Yeah. I think for me, I go by, it's so hard, man, because Freddy Krueger has such a pop culture presence. I mean, and even like non-horror fans know Michael and Freddy. Like people who don't even watch horror, you can say like, because I know some people in there, and I'm like, oh yeah, Freddy, he's the guy with the claw hand. I'm like, that's and they're both, I mean, ingrained iconically in our culture, and you can't look just at box office sales because that doesn't take into account home video, which is another whole piece of the puzzle, and you got to think about all the, and again, this was older now. I know in the 80s, there's no doubt Freddy, all the marketing we just talked about with the toys, all the product placements, and he was everywhere in the 80s.
He was going on talk shows. And being interviewed as Freddy Krueger. Like,
that's right.
Yep.
Like,
just nuts.
That's insane,
It's insane. So I that's a really good question, and I think that I would probably say, in my opinion, they're neck and neck in terms of the pulse of. But again, if you're talking about what's currently, it's got to be Halloween because there's making movies.
Absolutely. Well, that was my point. That's why I was like all time globally.
All time.
Just because, like, there's no comparison right now. I mean, you haven't had a nightmare movie in what
Over a
13
decade.
years, 12 years, something like
Yes.
that.
2010,
yeah,
I think.
yeah. So I mean,
Yep.
you know, every 10 years we get a new Halloween trilogy. You know, so it's like
Right.
yeah. So I don't think there's a comparison, but yeah.
Yep.
To kind of shift is what I'd really like to see also, and I mean I'm hoping that Winnie the Pooh slasher movie
Oh
or
my
whatever. Dude, I
gosh.
can't wait for that movie. I am so excited for
Man.
that movie. That might be my most anticipated movie this year. I
Oh my
I know
God.
it's gonna be just absolutely terrible. It's because
Yeah.
I love that the director, the guy who's doing it, he's like full fledged. He's like, you know, like this is not, you know, your Halloween. Like this isn't like, you know, if you're going into this movie expected it to be a $50 million budget movie, you're gonna be very disappointed. He's like, this movie's exactly what it sounds like, exactly what it looks like. It was on a shoestring budget,
Oh,
like, and I appreciate because nothing makes me more bothered than when like you know a movie's gonna be terrible, it's clearly gonna be terrible, and you have like the director and stuff, and they're like, "No, this is Shakespeare in the Park. Like
Right.
this is the greatest thing since sliced bread." And it's like, clear, no, it's not. You know, it's not gonna happen.
Right.
But
Right.
like, I'm hoping that it's successful. I really want to see like some of these like childhood things turn into horror adaptations. Like Scooby Doo would be the perfect R-rated like horror mystery, like who done
yeah.
it mystery. That would
Well,
be
yeah.
perfect. Like you know, like I would
Yep.
love that, like an R-rated version. You got plenty of kid stuff, like you know, and most of the people that grew up with Scooby Doo were all old enough now to watch a Scooby Doo movie. I mean, and that live animation with Matthew Lillard and stuff, like that was pretty adult. Like if you watch that movie now, like they had jokes and all kinds
Oh
of
yeah.
stuff that were very
There was innuendo big
yeah,
time.
very adult. You know,
Yeah.
and like even just like talking about like drug use, like when he asks when Shaggy gets asked by the girl or whatever about something, he's like clearly talking about smoking. He just got done smoking pot. He's like,
Well, remember when they're at the beach and they show the mystery machine and the smoke's pouring
Smoke,
out of the
yeah.
top? And they
Yes.
open the
like-
door and the smoke comes
Yeah,
out and they're like,
he's like,
"Oh,
"Hey."
grilling hot dogs!"
Yeah.
Like, "Oh,
Yeah,
sure."
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's
right.
like there's all kinds of like drug references in there. All kinds like that was clearly not like that was, and I think that was even like PG-13. Like,
Yeah,
what
it
like
was.
what's the difference if you just add like you don't even have to make it rated R. Add like a slasher series into it, like you know, a whodunit mystery with some like you know. Just you don't even have to have like a ton of blood or anything. Just like you know somebody really dying and stuff. Not you know.
Mhm.
I think you can make it work. And you could go all kinds of different directions. I mean, you could go like the paranormal side, like with like zombies and stuff like that, because they've had all like the cartoons on Zombie Island and stuff. Like, I think you could do so much with that. Like, I would
Fate.
love.
I'm gonna make you proud right now
Uh-oh.
because get ready for it, man. I can't believe I'm gonna say this. It's much like the Scooby-Doo version of Supernatural. Oh
That's
my
right.
gosh! I said
Oh.
it. That is an
Oh.
adult version of Scooby right there.
Wow.
Yeah, no,
There we go.
that's
There's
actually a
blood in that
great point.
episode.
Yeah, there's everything.
There's blood.
Yeah, and it's animated and everything. I mean, like you
Yep.
can do the live action, like, but that's actually a really good point too. That like
Uh-oh.
shows that they're willing to like at least explore the possibility.
True, man.
You know, they're not like completely against it.
Yeah.
And we're getting an R-rated animated series of Velma. The Velma series is supposed to be
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
By what is her name? Mindy.
Mindy
the girl
Cohen?
from The
Kaling?
Office.
Mindy Kaling?
Yeah, there you go. She's
Yeah.
the one that's voicing Velma. and
She's
actually-
awesome.
She is, dude. She's pumping out
Wow.
all this stuff. Yeah, so she's writing it. She's doing the voice of Velma. Dude, look at the images online. There's somebody missing their brain. Like literally, one of the main advertisement images is somebody laying on the ground in the bathroom of a high school dead, and their heads chopped off like Hannibal Lecter style.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
Yeah, so like they're obviously willing to take like the R-rated or you know more adult approach, which I just think makes sense because you have see you later. You just have generations of people that grew up on Scooby Doo that are
Right.
all old enough to go see an adult thing. Like I said, you don't even have to make it R-rated. Like you don't have to curse and stuff in it. Like
Right.
you know, there's plenty of good PG-13 horror movies. Just
Right.
make it a little darker tone. Like you know,
Yeah.
give us like a legit thing. Like I just I think that would be great. Like something like that. Like I said, Winnie the Pooh would be great. But I think Scooby Doo would be the best for that. Like
I think
he,
that's awesome.
yeah. So
I agree. Real quick too, and I forgot I clicked it, but Craven, what's the next movie that you're going to be watching? If you
In
have an idea,
like in just in general, or are we
I
talking
think
about?
in general.
Uh, shoot.
I
There's a
know
couple
I
of.
put you on the spot there.
I know, man.
It's
I'm
like,
like,
tell me what you're going to watch
what are
next.
you gonna watch?
what's your
You know,
favorite movie?
there's a few on the list. One of them, I'm gonna probably watch. It's not gonna be what I watch next, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna watch the movie You're Next. I've never seen You're
It's a
Next.
great movie.
It's a watch party pick last night for the members channel next month. So that's what we're gonna watch. I'm excited about it. I've heard a lot of good things.
Yeah,
You've never seen it?
Never seen it. So I'm
it's
very
it's
excited to
awesome.
watch it.
It is.
I
Yes.
just got through watching Everything Everywhere All at Once, the A24 movie, a couple days ago. And then, but what am I going to watch next? I honestly don't know. I hate to say that. I've got several movies. I have to go really look and see what's on my list because I've got one that I think we talked about at night, if I remember right. And
Yes.
darn it, where is it? I thought I had it handy over here, but maybe I don't. I may have to get back to you on that. Let me just make sure. Hold on.
Okay.
Where is it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? It was a movie called. Well, oh, here it is. May Night. Is it Sisters by Brian De Palma?
Yeah, Sisters is a good one. Yeah.
Sisters.
Hmm.
I made a note to watch that after we talked about it. So
Hmm.
it might be Sisters by Brian De Palma. That might be what I watch next.
All right. Okay. Joel was saying, I don't think Robert England should return because he'll eventually have to be replaced, and therein lies the problem. He's so connected to the role.
That's
You
kind of my
know,
problem too.
yeah, I mean, that is the conundrum,
Yep.
because, I think, more than most, anyways, horror icons, he's just so connected to the role, you know? So the question is, do you let him come back to do one more and then pass it off? Excuse me. Do you try to do a couple and then pass it off, or do you just start fresh? It's really tough. What do you guys think?
Craven, you want to start?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you have to at some point start fresh. There's no
Right.
choice. But my thing is, until said time, let's use Robert. Let's as long as he can do it, let him do it. That's what I'm saying. Like, I know it's putting off the inevitable, but so what? Let's put it off. This is life. You don't, we get one shot on this earth, and Robert has been the guy. And if he can still do it, let's make a great kick-tail movie with Robert England again. And if it's his last one, then it's his last one. We'll do what we have to do. If you have to get somebody new, that's what you do. Wes Craven passed away. We got new Scream movies. It's what happens. So, when you can't no longer do it for whatever reason, you have to move on. But I don't want to move on prematurely. That's my point. If he
Mm,
can still do it, then why just say no, we're going to move on now when you could say, you know what, we'll move on in 3 years. Let's get Robert
right.
back. That's
Right.
how I feel about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. See you later, Amber.
See
Bye,
you, Amber.
Amber.
I tend to agree more on that side, like what you were saying, Stephen, because Robert is still, as far as we know, still interested in doing another one or whatever. And if he's interested in doing it, I say let him do it.
Yeah.
If they were able to really get a really cool story,
Hmm.
maybe it could be the type of thing where, they, and I don't want to, it almost sounds silly saying it, but if there was a way to
Pass the
pass
torch.
on, yeah, pass
Yeah.
on the torch. and
Yeah.
and I know, and it sounds kind of hokey, and I know some people will probably reference the new Candyman and stuff like that, which there was advantages and disadvantages of that, but the bottom line is that Robert's an icon, right? So if he still wants
Yep.
to do it, I'm all for seeing him do it, even if it's just one more time. He's
Yes.
he's earned that to me. He's earned that. And if anything, one thing I do love, and especially about to me, what I think of is especially the '80s trinity, of Friday, Nightmare, and Halloween. I think what's really cool is all of those franchises really helped to propel the other. You know what I'm saying? Like
Sure.
Halloween came, and then Friday wanted to emulate it, and then of course Friday started a slasher craze, and then you get Nightmare, and then Freddy carried the whole world on his back for a while, and and really helped perpetuate Halloween and Friday further along in their franchises, and then of course Scream comes along, and so forth and so forth and so forth. So as far as I'm concerned, Robert's earned the right to come back if he wants to,
Yeah.
So
Right.
what do you think, Fate?
Yeah. So first off, touch on like the Friday the 13th thing that you're talking about. Like, did you ever see it was on Netflix, like I think it's the movies that made us or whatever. It was like where they talk about Halloween and
I haven't
Friday the
seen it.
13th.
I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard a lot about it. But I have
Uh,
it on my watch list.
you gotta watch it. But
Yeah,
anyway, there's a moment in it where he's like, how do we come up with the idea for Friday the 13th?
yeah, we
The
rip
guy
it
came
off.
to me and was like, you see that? I want you to do that.
Yes,
And I was like, that's great. He's like talking about Halloween. He's like, we went in with the idea of replicating Halloween,
right,
which I thought was great.
right.
But as far as Nightmare on Elm Street, um, like of course, like we all want Freddy to come back. I don't know if a studio would want that. I mean, Jason Blum, obviously, because he's want that. But I mean, think about it. Like, let's say you're, Paramount or whatever, and you're going to do this movie, or right, and you're going to buy the rights, you're going to secure the rights. If you're going to pay the money for the rights, you probably want more than one movie. So I just think anybody that buys the rights very likely aren't going to want to do the Robert Englund route, just because like you're limited to one, maybe if you're lucky, two movies. But
Mm,
like if you go the fresh route and the first movie's great, then that just opens the door for, who knows how many movies. You could maybe even do 10, you know.
Mhm.
And I think that's like, because that's how I would look at it from like a, if I was buying the rights. Like I don't want to buy the rights to do one Robert Englund movie. Yes, like that
right.
movie's going to make $200 million and it'll be worth it financially, but like what is the long game here?
Hmm.
And that's kind of what I'd be looking at, because if you made a new Friday the 13th movie, period, it's probably going to do at least 150 million. So
Yeah.
Robert Englund maybe gets you the extra 50 million, but he doesn't get you multiple movies. So in the long run, you're probably going to make more money.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
that would be my biggest thing. Of course, like I said, as uh, a Robert Englund fan and just Nightmare on Elm Street fan, who doesn't? Like, give me a
Yeah.
heavy dose of Robert Englund as Freddy one more time. Like, I'd love it. Like, I'd love it
Right.
even if it was just like, even if somebody's like, Robert Englund, we'll just give you some money to go make a fan movie. Like,
Right.
here's 100 grand. Like
Right.
go, just go film yourself as Freddy for an hour. Like,
Yeah.
I'd be all for that. But like, I think from a studio standpoint, I think anybody that's going to buy the rights for a new Nightmare on Elm Street, I just don't think that they're going to go that. Now maybe they can incorporate Freddy or Robert Englund in some way.
Hmm.
Like you said,
Yeah.
maybe like a passing of the torch moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that would be very early on in the movie. Like, let's say they
Yeah.
didn't want to completely reboot it. Like, let's say they
Hmm.
just wanted to they just wanted to start a new chapter or whatever. Maybe like the opening scene, you get Robert Englund, you get him for 5 minutes, and then you see him like possess somebody. I think who was it? Crystal, I think, said earlier. I saw in the chat. Crystal said, I could see them doing like a Freddy 2 where he like possesses somebody in the dreams.
Right.
Like, I could
Yeah.
see something like that where like he like transfers his essence or something to
Yeah.
somebody new, and then they're the new Freddy, like you said, Candyman
Yeah.
vibes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't, as much as I would love it, I just don't
Yeah.
think it's gonna happen.
Well, one thing I will say, and I absolutely love Robert because you can just tell that he is so tuned in
Yeah.
to Freddy and to what it is, what it means. I mean, he will literally talk about, the philosophy of each of the movies because he's just that type of guy, that type of actor. He's so cerebral. And, I'm just thinking about the possibility of him coming back one more time. It is so intriguing, but I agree. Business wise, it might be, yeah, it might be a rough thing. Malcolm, we got not Michael, but Malcolm Myers saying Texas Chainsaw Massacre was first in '74. It sure was. And then, of course, before that was Psycho. And then,
Yes.
of course, before that was a lot of other things. So all these movies definitely built upon each other. There's no doubt about that. No.
The momentum kept driving.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
absolutely.
I mean, that's what like we were talking about that on the last Lethal stream. You know, like the final girls and stuff. You know, and
Yes.
you know, Lori was like the final girl. Like she was like the first final girl. Like as
hmm
far as like that being the moniker type thing. But there
Right.
were ones before her. I mean, her
Yeah.
mom.
Her
You know,
mom,
her mom.
right?
Yeah, I mean, her mom was the first of the first. I mean, even
Yeah.
if you go farther than that,
True.
there's movies like those old school like black and white like no
Yeah.
sound movies. You know, I
Yeah.
had those murder
King
mysteries. So I mean,
Kong.
yeah,
That was
King Kong
the
is another one. Yeah,
30s or whatever.
yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
there's there, you know, but I feel like Lori was the first like established mainstream. This is the final girl type thing, like,
Yeah.
and then that kind of created and opened the door for like, you know, Heather and you know, and
Right.
then Sydney and you know
hmm
all of these, you know, all of these final girls that we know today. So yeah, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the one that like you know just gets left out the most.
True. It is. And I think also that's because it's such a different type
Yeah,
of horror movie. It still is to this day very, very unique. And even Leatherface, the way he's portrayed. And I think in the franchise, and I've talked about this on my channel quite a bit, even with the newest version of it on Netflix, Leatherface has been one of those characters that has had, this up and down to him because of the fact that the mythology has been changed so much, from movie to movie to movie. If you think about it, Leatherface is not portrayed the same way, in so many of the movies. But
yeah,
I think it's kind of interesting, and I've enjoyed so many of the movies in the franchise. But yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and of course the late great Marilyn Burns, they do get left out of a lot of these conversations. But I will say, like you said, when Jamie Lee Curtis, Halloween really started like
the movement.
a movement, like a concrete movement. Like it was there before. Like look at Black Christmas, right? Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Psycho, so forth, whatever. But when Halloween came out, that's when it was a movement, and then the movement was solidified even more so when Friday came along and for all intents and purposes ripped it off. And
Yeah,
next thing you know, you had that slasher craze that went on for a decade and a half, and ultimately landed to Scream with Nev and Sydney. So it's really interesting how that all came to be. And by the way, just as a shameless plug, a lot of this I do talk about on Slasher Movie Club, which is tonight at 8 o'clock. And we've covered so many slasher movies, but it's an interesting thing, the history of it. And that's part of the reason why, I've been doing the Slasher Movie Club on my channel. Because if you look at the history of these movies, the ups and downs, the different characters and the final girls and so forth, it's really an interesting thing. It really is. But
no,
yeah, yeah.
no, I was just gonna say like no, I agree with it. I mean, we got this like it was just like the wheel just got pushed down the hill and it just kept, or you
Yes.
know, or the snowball, you know, like it
Yep.
started as like this little tiny snowball, and then it
hmm
just kept building and building and building, and then we ended up reaching, you know,
That's
Scream.
right.
I mean, by the time Scream came out, you know, like people were sick of slasher movies. Like
Absolutely.
it was such a saturated market that
Yes,
people
it
like
was.
Scream was getting killed, you know, by critics and stuff like that before they even saw the movie because they were like, "Oh, here goes
Yep.
another slasher movie." This
That's
time
right.
it's just Drew Barrymore, and then it really changed the game. But you know,
hmm
um, kind of pivot is for like what if they because Texas Chainsaw Massacre it really is all. I mean, even the story is all over the place, right?
It
I mean,
is.
like
Yeah.
yeah, like the first two movies had a very clear cut establishment, and then like after that, it just went 15 different ways,
It
as
did.
most of these franchises do. But um, like, what if they made a Texas Chainsaw Massacre more true to the original story, centered around Ed Gein?
That would be something.
You know what I mean? Like what
Yeah.
if like instead of some giant man monster,
Right.
it's Ed Gein. It's somebody portraying Ed Gein, and because Ed Gein was a sizable guy. I mean, he was like
Yeah.
he was arrested. By the time he was caught and everything, he was older and stuff like that. So he
Hmm.
didn't look like he could. But like, what if you did like a movie with like a younger Ed Gein? Like
Yeah.
he like I said, he wasn't like 5'5". I think Ed
Right.
Gein was like 6 foot or something like that,
I
6'2",
think I
something
think
around
so.
there. And
Yeah.
I mean, he was big enough to be able to knock out the.
True enough. Oh, there he goes. Technology is speaking.
It is. It's
There
killing me.
you go.
Yeah, like you could do something like that. Have Ed Gein and kind of keep it more true to the story, where he's just like
Yeah.
this psycho murderer who's killing teens and killing people, and
Yep.
I mean, he was cooking stews with them, and I mean,
Yeah,
a
man.
lot of like what Ed Gein really did was in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like wearing
Hmm.
belts, and the family is cooking stew with the people in it and stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that could be pretty cool. Like if they
I think
went a
so
more
too.
authentic route. I mean,
Hmm.
obviously we got to get through this trilogy
Yep.
from Netflix, but after the
I
Netflix
know.
trilogy, we could do something like that.
I think it would be a good idea, you know? Because the other thing too is I don't know, and we'll see what happens with these other two movies for TCM, but I don't know what else you could really.
Do with it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, of course, that could be true for any of these long-standing franchises, but I think the one thing about TCM is that at least, well, in a lot of the movies in the franchise, Leatherface is depicted as kind of a lackey. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's the muscle in the family. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't know, man. I just don't know. I mean, I'll watch these next two movies and see how they go, but I don't know what else you can really do with TCM. The original, the strength of the original was that it was wacky, it was weird, it went into a lot of directions, and then it was done. And it was never meant to be more than that. Just like with a lot of these movies, there was never supposed to be a sequel to Halloween and so forth.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting how all of this plays
I
out.
love
Money speaks volumes.
Yeah, I love TCM too. Like
I do too.
yeah, like Dennis Hooper is just great in that, and like especially like when like when the truck pulls up and he's talking on the
Yes.
radio, he's like, "Rah!" Like I was like,
Yeah.
like it's
It's
so
crazy.
over the top and ridiculous, but it's just great. Like it really
And of
is.
course, Bill Moseley was fantastic as Chop Top.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Oh my
seriously,
god. Dog will hunt.
yeah.
Dog will hunt.
He's over there itching
Um,
his head with the coat hanger and
I oh
stuff.
that was so gross. It's still gross.
And
Ah.
eating it. Like, yeah.
I know.
Oh man.
Crystal saying Halloween shook suburbanites. It happened in a small town, Joe average place. It wasn't in someone different. It wasn't in someone different or exotic. It was in your town to a girl you went to school with. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that was the strength, of that first movie. Like I've said it many times. At the end of the movie, when Loomis finally finds out where Michael is, because Tommy and Lindsay are running out of the house, I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, thank God he finally found, where Michael is to help Laurie, because all the houses were just regular
Yeah.
suburban houses. You would never know what was going on in the inside,
Yeah.
I mean, unless there was loud noises or, maybe if the screams could be audible outside. But that was the point, is that this could happen in your neighborhood down the street and you would never know that evil is right there. And I think that was the strength of that original movie. It really was.
Well, it touches on the realism. I mean, most of the most successful horror movies, period, are usually that, like Scream, small
Yeah.
town, town that dreaded sundown,
Yes.
small town stuff like that. Like a lot of these things, like even the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, small town, like it's it's
Mhm.
in Texas, but it's in a small like little suburb in Texas, and
Yep.
like because it's more relatable, and I mean even mirroring reality, like it's usually your neighbor,
Yeah.
like, and it's like what is going on, like
Mhm.
I've had a story where one of my neighbors did something crazy, like, and you just
Mhm.
like, wow, like I've talked to him, like, it's just
Wow.
like, yeah, and not just that, but I mean, it's always like every time you hear like anything, like you watch the news reports, and it's always like he was such a nice guy, Or
Yes,
I never
yes.
knew, like, he never seemed like that. He was such a family man, like, he
Hmm.
used to kiss babies and donate to charity, and like,
That's
it's
right.
like you never hear anybody, like, it's never the guy that's like, yeah, like we knew that guy was gonna be a killer. Like, like,
Exactly.
it's always like, what did you think of him? Like, yeah, psycho. Like, we saw him axe murderer written on his forehead. Like, no, it's always
Hmm.
like the most unsuspecting guy ever. I mean, look at
That's right.
John Wayne Gacy. That dude was
Right.
doing birthday parties, going
Hmm.
to like cancer wards with children, and like, I mean, dude, he was like, the police didn't believe, like, when he said it, the police thought he was joking.
Hmm.
He
Hmm.
was said that he sat there and just was joking about it because like the police didn't believe that he was a psycho murderer. Like
Right.
that kind of stuff is crazy. Like,
It is crazy.
uh, you see that stuff. Like, yeah, I mean, or even look at what's his name? Oh, why am I blanking on his name?
Ted
Um,
Bundy.
Ted Bundy. Thank you. Yeah,
Hmm.
you read my mind. There you go. You like Ted Bundy. I mean,
Hmm.
good looking guy, charismatic,
Yep.
a lawyer, like all that stuff, like, and people loved him. Like, people loved him. Even after, I mean, like during the court proceedings and stuff, girls are like sending him his panties and stuff for, like, Richard Ramirez. Ramirez
Oh
became a
yeah.
superstar
Yep.
after that happened. I mean, girls were writing like there's interviews with him, and he's like, yeah, I love the ladies now. Like, like he's a goofy looking guy, like teeth all messed up, he had nothing to lose, homeless, and now he's got women throwing himself at him. He was bragging about it, like he was
Right.
happy about it. It's crazy how
I tell you.
that stuff exists.
Yeah. Memo Boy saying, Knight and Fate and Craven, what would you like to see Samara Weaving in Scream 6? The killer or victim? Or the OG final girl?
Craven,
Or
you
the
just got
final
back.
girl?
Sure. Okay, so it's not what I think I'm going to see; it's what I would like to see. That's a very important distinction.
Yeah, what
So
would you like to see? Yeah.
I would like to see her as. Hold on a second, while my little bumblebee crosses across here. All right, little bumblebee.
Bye, Jen.
Bye, Jen.
See you later, Jen.
Great question. I would like to see her throughout the movie in a very predominant role, and I would love to see her as a absolute psychotic Jill Roberts type killer at the end. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
There's no chance in Hades that's going to happen, but that's what I would like to see.
I like that. There's no chance in Hades. There you go. All
Yeah,
right.
that's not happening. That's not
All
happening.
right. Cool. What about you, Fate?
HE double hockey sticks. Yeah, so I am almost positive that she's just gonna be like a CC Cooper type role. Like, I just think,
Yeah.
like, just based on timing when she signed on and everything like that, I just don't see her being. I would love for her to be the killer,
Yeah.
or
Me too.
like a final girl. I don't think she's, even if she does have a main prominent role, she's not going to be the final girl. They're not going to
No.
switch that with Sam. And if they were ever going to change Sam, it would likely be Tara, just because Jenna Ortega's career is just shooting up. Um, but in reality, as much as I would like to see her be psycho killer, or a final girl, I'm pretty sure she's going to be in that victim role to some capacity. Whether it's the opening scene, which I don't think so. I'm almost positive, based on all the information we have, like, that this is going to mirror Scream 2.
Mm-hmm.
You imagine that there's going to be a CC Cooper type character in that,
Yeah.
and
Right.
that's where I think Samara fits in. She'll get a
Sarah
handful
Michelle
of scenes.
Gellar. It's like
Yeah,
it's that kind
exactly.
of deal.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think she'll get a handful of scenes, a handful of moments, and then
Yep.
that'll be it.
I totally agree with both of you. I think it's, I'm frustrated by that. I mean, I get it. It's just kind of the way the cards have fallen, but I'm frustrated by that because it would be so cool if she was the killer. I mean, like, just like a new level of character, and so forth and so forth. That would have been so cool. And I think she's the type of actor or actress that could pull it off.
Yeah,
She has that
Definitely.
type of ability. I mean, seriously, but we're not going to get that. I agree. There's no chance at all. At all. All right. Real quick, as we get ready to wind down here, I just wanted to get to another comment or two. Crystal saying that's why I hated the zombie depictions of Myers so much. No, he wasn't raised by alcoholics and strippers. He
Yeah.
was a regular kid raised by
Yes.
normal parents in a random town that did something horrible. Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
true.
It's true.
I agree. I think, and I know there's some people, and I've had that a lot in comments on my videos. Some folks saying that, what Rob Zombie did with his depiction, it worked, or they think, it's just a different way to tell the story, or so forth and so forth. But like you were saying, Crystal, and I totally agree with it. I think what makes it scary, what makes it so jolting, is the fact that it was just a regular kid. This was a kid that we went to school with in elementary school, right? And he's totally seemingly normal or whatever. And then one night he just goes upstairs, puts on a clown mask, and kills his sister. And that's creepy. That's scary,
Yes. Yes.
and Rob Zombie obviously was in a kind of a no-win situation, because what are you going to do? Are you just going to copy Carpenter bit for bit? That wouldn't have worked either. So it was a tough situation. I appreciate him trying to do different things. I do appreciate that, and there's some things about that movie that are that I enjoy. But as far as the mythology, um, to me, that's what makes both of those movies problematic. So anything you guys want to add to that as we get ready to head on out?
Mm-mm.
That was perfect.
That was you said it all, dude.
Yeah, that was
Well
perfect.
done.
You were
One-
all
one-
right.
One thing,
Exactly.
one thing though is I see because I've been asked this a couple times is Dan Colfetti, his comment. What do you think her role would have been if she signed on Scream 5? Talking about Samara Weaving, we know what that role was intended to be. She was supposed to be the main girl. They wanted her to be.
Oh,
They wanted her to be Sam.
it's
I mean,
so
granted,
frustrating.
granted.
Right.
I mean, who knows if her name would have been Sam? Who knows, like at that point? But that was her original intent. They wanted her to be the main final girl, but scheduling conflict, she wasn't able to do it, and
Yep.
and so they went
Terrible.
with the different route. But to be fair, Jenna Ortega likely wouldn't have played her sister, or maybe even been in this movie at all. And she was a bright side.
Or
Yeah.
what if she had been, and they just had Samara as Sam, and
They
the
didn't
two
have
of
the
those
sibling-
powerhouses?
They didn't have the sibling dynamic. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, here's the thing: they could have still been siblings, because just because if you have a Latin or Hispanic background does not mean you have to look like it. Because I'm related to someone who is every bit as white skinned as I am, who is Hispanic.
I mean, I'm Mexican, and I don't.
Well, I mean, there you go. That's what I'm talking about.
White as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just being honest. It's true.
Mhm.
It's so.
Right.
I never saw a problem with, like someone said, her mom has to be whatever. I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, I think it could have worked. And then maybe they wouldn't have been sisters, maybe not. But I'm just in my mind, I'm dreaming. I'm thinking,
Right.
Sam
The
is
possibilities.
Samara.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
I'll tell you what. If Samara Weaving had been Sam, I think that movie would have been amazingly different in a very good way.
Mm.
It would have elevated the film,
Yeah.
because she's
I mean, to
she's
be-
a great actress.
To be fair, if they
is.
would have kept the Billy storyline, I mean, Samara Weaving would have been
Yeah.
Billy's daughter, so I mean,
Yes.
she likely would have been white. So, I mean, that makes sense. But
I mean,
yeah, I would have been. I mean, I would have been all for it. Like, but yeah,
You know
I see that question a lot. That's the only
Yeah.
reason I
Right.
wanted to bring it up, because we do know what they wanted her to be, which was
Right.
True.
the final girl.
Yep.
But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Craven. Go ahead. Finish.
Oh no. The last thing I was going to say was, and I'm a little bit, just being completely honest, I'm a little nervous for Melissa, because she now is going to be up against Jenna, Hayden Panettiere, Samara Weaving,
And Courtney.
and Courtney Cox. And I'm like, man, she may crush under the pressure of that, because look how much we talked about how Jenna, in our opinions, Jenna outshined her in that movie, generally speaking. And I'm thinking to myself, man, you're putting her around Hayden, which Hayden can straight out
Yeah.
chops act, and
Yep.
Samara too. Final girl material all day long.
Oh yeah.
That's dude. I'm telling you, man. I just hope that we see Melissa, a new Melissa,
Yeah.
breaks out of that whatever that was in 5, and is just in it. and in it to win it.
Yep, I
Otherwise,
agree,
she's just
man.
going to be continue to be outshined, and it's going to be a very. Then eventually I will say it was a casting mistake.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it yet, but I will after this movie if it doesn't change.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, we're gonna get ready to head on out. But for you guys in the live chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Please hit the like button if you have not done so yet, and if you have not subscribed to the Lethal Collective, what are you
What are you doing?
I was like, there it is.
I was setting it up for you, man.
I know.
Please do so and enjoy this community and our hijinks that we have twice a week. We will be back on Friday. Please leave a comment too. That'll help. And like Jason said earlier in this live stream, share it out on your social media. That'd be much appreciated too. Definitely helps out a lot. So we will catch you guys later. The collective is spoken. Peace out.
Bye, guys.